Welcome back. This afternoon, you're listening to the Todd Laborowitz Show, Real Estate Radio and Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. I am your host, Todd Laborowitz, and we're speaking with Tara Handron. She's Regional Vice President with Caron Treatment Centers, spelled C-A-R-O-N. Sounds like the name Caron, but it's Caron Treatment Centers. Well, Caron Treatment Centers is a nationally recognized nonprofit provider of alcohol and drug addiction treatment. With nearly 60 years in the field, Caron is one of the oldest and largest drug and alcohol addiction treatment centers organizations offering primary relapse and long-term treatment for adolescents, young adults, boomers, and older adults, as well as families affected by the disease of addiction. Caron's treatment is gender separate and gender specific. Caron has extensive experience in the treatment of co-occurring psychological and psychiatric disorders within its patient community. Tara, what is the gender separate and gender specific?
So, obviously men and women, I think at any age, have different needs, different things that impact them, and then especially when it comes to addiction. Gender separate, so meaning like especially with our younger adults or adolescents, even our adults, it's really important to have men with men, women with women, so they can really concentrate on getting better. And then gender specific is addressing those issues that are unique to women within the women's programs and then unique to men within the men's programs.
So you have a safe environment for people going through the treatment.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and also, a young woman who is cutting and doing drugs and maybe has an eating disorder is going to have different issues than a young man who is smoking pot and getting drunk every day at school. I mean, it's just sort of two random scenarios right there. I mean, they're going to be doing those things for different reasons. The symptoms and the things that they do are going to present themselves in different ways.
Okay. Well, going into what Caron is, how would you explain it?
Yeah, because what you just read is like a pretty, that's like a
big blurb.
Big sandwich, yeah. Kind of like, what's a little bite? So basically, I mean, we're a drug and alcohol treatment center. So when someone gets to that point where drugs and alcohol are taking over their life, and I mean that in a very broad way, because it looks very different depending on the person. And as we were talking about for a second, different ages, someone who is addicted to pain pills and has been drinking all their life and needs to get sober at 73, that's going to look a lot different than the young person who's, say, getting kicked out of school, and then the young professional who, just can't seem to get it together and go to work anymore and is seeing therapists and popping pills and that sort of thing. So we are that place where people come when they cannot help themselves and family members can't do it.
Okay. Now, the facility is actually in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Our main campus is in Pennsylvania with about 240 beds there. And it started out as the home of Dick and Catherine Caron. After Dick got sober, he had gone away to treatment, came back. They started helping people in their home. And I get kind of goosebumps from it because literally, their daughter is still alive. And she talks about having, these, recovering alcoholics sleeping on their sofa in the living room. And, and today it's this big, wonderful organization because we also have centers in Florida and in Texas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, you also have an office in D.C. Mm-hmm. What's the purpose of that?
So we do something that I don't think any other treatment facility does. We have regional offices. They go from Boston to New York, Philly, D.C., and Atlanta. And the point of that is that, A, people don't always know how to find us. So part of my job is making sure people know about Caron. They know what we do. They know how to access, me, how to help get access to our centers. People go there. Family members go up for a family program, then they return to the region. And we want to make sure that people don't just fall through the cracks because that's what impacts the rate of recovery is that little window between when people leave treatment and then have to go home because it's such a transition. You've been in this safe environment and now you're back in the real world. In some cases, people do halfway houses, but still you're making that transition. So we help with that. We have alumni groups, we have parent support groups. Our parent support groups are for any parents. So any parent who's even concerned is welcome to come, and they can talk with other parents and learn from them. And
so if someone has a problem with a loved one, and they just want to see how they can help, instead of just picking up the phone and calling somewhere, there's a support group that they can go to and actually bring up their concerns.
Absolutely. And part of what we do too is, my job, I see it as, and I see Karen's mission in DC being not just shipping people off to treatment, but whatever it is, if someone is suffering, how do we help them find help? So maybe it's outpatient, maybe it's a therapist. Not everyone necessarily needs inpatient care. So we see ourselves as, a strong resource in the community.
Perfect. Well, by the way, if you're just tuning in, I have with me Tara Handron. She's Regional Vice President with Caron Treatment Centers. And I am your host, Todd Laborowit, and you're listening to Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. Now, Tara, there's different type of clientele that I see. You have the parent or the loved one that wants to take care of this person and get them into facility. You got the person that might have a little window of, I might need help. And then you got the court order people. And you got the ones that are addiction. But you have ones that different levels of addiction.
And there's sort of a different catalyst for getting the person there.
Right. Because, like for me, I'm not trying to label this, but like heroin is a very hard addiction. And getting somebody into rehab is a lot harder than someone whose life isn't going well and there's a drinking problem. I'm not trying to separate them. I'm just trying to...
You'd be surprised, though. Different people have different thresholds for pain, if you will. So, for example, I'm in recovery. I've been in recovery for 14 years. So what the situations surrounding my decision to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore, might be nothing for someone else, regardless of what the substance is. In fact, my father, who went to one of our centers, I helped him get sober about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at age 73. So, and his drinking, obviously, because it had gone on a lot longer, looked very different from mine. But what it took for him is what it took. And what it took for me at 26 is what it took.
Wow.
So.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us and our listeners. And I just know that it's like being able to not have these addictions in your life, whether you think they're small or big, there's a real world that's going on out there. And it's an amazing place to be.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody out there that's listening that has a loved one that you'd like to help, there's these support groups that you can go to, and we'll tell you how to get more information about that. Also, for those that are looking to say, hey, I wonder what it is like on the other side and having this addiction under control, we can get you in touch with Tara as well. So what I'd like to do is offer you, our listeners, a chance to get in touch with Tara Handron, and we'll give direct access to that right now. What's the website? Is it?
It's www.caron.org.
Okay. All right. Well, Tara, a lot of people have questions with addiction, and what I want to get into is a lot of times people, I guess, on the first round or second round, is like, oh, I can take care of this myself. And that's quitting cold turkey. And it's actually more dangerous quitting cold turkey than it is to go into a rehab center. Because going into a rehab center, yes, you have to alert a loved one. You might have to get financial help from somebody or this and that. But going cold turkey is very, very dangerous.
It can be, especially depending on how much you've been drinking, how often. For example, I mentioned, my father's in recovery now, and he would try to do it himself. He would get a prescription for Librium from his doctor. I'm not really sure how he managed to do that multiple times, but it's another conversation. But finally his doctor said, no, this is dangerous. You should not be doing this yourself, because what can happen is that people can have seizures. In his case and in the case of older adults who have heart issues, I don't want to say it can bring on a heart attack, but it can certainly, if you already have, if you're susceptible to something like that. But the biggest thing are, seizures and other, complications. As a result, alcohol actually affects every single organ in the body, unlike any other drug, which was a surprise to me when I first heard that. I figured there were other ones that were, worse, but yeah.
But what is the first step?
What is the first step?
What is the first step? I know we said we got to wrap up, but it's
sure.
What's the first step for someone that wants help?
Pick up the phone and call me.
Okay.
It's probably the easiest, because I'd be, just as someone who's recovering as well as someone who works in the field, I can talk to someone and so can many people at my organization. And
what number do you want to give them?
1-800-678-2332.
Perfect.
Yes.
And that number again is?
1-800-678-2332.
Well, perfect. Tara Handron, Regional Vice President of Caron Treatment Centers. Well, thank you, Tara, for being here. Next Saturday at 1 p.m., we're going to be speaking with Jim Brown, who is the mayor of Poolesville. Also, we're going to be talking with Jessica Weiss from Growing Soul, and we'll have mortgage matters about if you have a rental property and you want to buy a new house, can you declare that as income?
You don't go through life with a paralyzing fear every time you have a financial transaction. So why is applying for a mortgage so scary? At Topaz Mortgage with Todd Laborwood, it is about educating and empowering you to get from point A to point B. Todd provides you with his exact closing cost, best interest rate, then invites you to shop around. Plus, if you call with questions, Todd picks up with the answers. Learn more at whytopaz.com. They are industry experts that care. Topaz Mortgage, NMLS 131548, licensed by the Virginia State Corporation Commission, MC 5344, Washington, D.C., MLB 131548, Maryland 18330, Todd Laborwood, NMLS 131497.